Welcome to the Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we give a voice to those who have suffered firsthand from medical malpractice. In Florida, families devastated by medical negligence are left without justice because of a law many don't even know exists. Florida's free kill law prevents families from holding doctors accountable. These are real stories with real loss and no justice. Contact Ed at 561-239-2417 or visit afreekill.com. Today we uncover the truth, share real stories, and demand change.
Good evening, friends, and thank you so very, very much for tuning in. We've just been overwhelmed with the response we're getting, and we're so encouraged by the feedback we're getting, the people that have been contributing, and the progress that is being made. To start, I want to give you an update on what's going on in the Florida legislature right now. I had a phone call this morning with Yana Ben-Yoon and her son Ethan, and these guys are warriors. They're part of a advocacy group that has been camped out, literally, in Tallahassee for several years now, and always dogging these people about moving on abolishing these laws. I'll just read from the email that Ethan sent to me. As of today, our group of advocates have been waiting patiently for the vote in the Florida Senate on Senate Bill 734, which, as you know, would repeal Florida's free kill laws. We are monitoring the Senate's schedule, and typically they give a 48-hour notice as to when they will hear the bill. So far, by example, today, Tuesday at 5 p.m. would be when they would hear if it was going to be held by Thursday, morning or afternoon. And they're saying that from their experience, it is possible that a last-minute addition may occur within a 24-hour period. But, kudos to Senator Yarborough in Jacksonville, who is probably our foremost champion in efforts to get the Senate Bill 734 heard on the Senate floor in the Florida legislature. That being said, so far the shows that we've had, the guests that we've had, all the discussions have been about problems with these free kill laws and sovereign immunity laws here in the state of Florida. Tonight, our guest is going to be a friend of mine. We're brothers in faith from St. Andrew's Parish in Coral Springs. But my good friend Juan Picasso, he, like myself, he lost a son. But it wasn't his son that he lost through medical error. It was a tragic event that occurred to him personally shortly after the loss of his son. And this occurred in the state of Texas. So as a matter of relevancy, we'll be able to show you that, as you heard my lawyer state, that all forms, all the states have some form of law like this on the books. So without any further ado, I'll ask Juan to tell you a little bit about himself.
Hi, everybody. I'm a citizen of Florida. Because of the illness of my son, I had to go to Houston, and I was treated in Houston, and they told me I need a surgery because I developed an aneurysm that it went from 2 to 6 centimeters. I had that surgery. It went well. But after the surgery was done on November the 1st, and in November the 7th, I was dying with seizures, short of breath, and all kind of effects.
Let me just, one thing that Juan shared with me was that this aneurysm that he had, it was in the ascending arch of the aorta. And so, where your aorta comes out of your heart, that's right where the aneurysm was, and it was very close to his aortic valve, right?
Correct.
So the resection, the repair of the aneurysm, not only involved his aorta, but it involved his aortic valve also.
they changed my natural aortic valve for what they call is
An artificial.
an artificial
Yeah.
valve. No, thank God I am alive because of that valve. But what happened after, on the seventh day after the surgery, I began to have seizures. I passed out, and I was really feeling in really, really bad shape. I asked for help, and the nurse never appeared until when I came back from I wake up from my pass out. I saw a blue button under the window. I asked my wife to press it, and everybody ran. It was the
Code blue.
cold blue button, and they told me, "But you look well. You're okay." And I said, "No, I'm not okay. I am suffering this." And they knew what was going on. They gave me diuretics, so they cleaned my system.
They gave him diuretics to help
Yeah.
your blood level down, or your fluid levels down.
And I began to breathe again. On the 8th, I feel well. My concern was on the 9th, I have to say this, they forced me to leave because at 9 o'clock in the morning, they discharged me. And I began to fight the whole day. I'm a warrior too.
And when they discharged you, you were still short of breath, you still felt weak.
I was getting worse and worse every hour because I was coming back to the same situation I had on the 7th. No?
Okay.
So it was on the 9th. I stayed until 6 o'clock until I told my wife, let's go. They don't want to do nothing to me. So we moved from there. We went to Katy. And
It's a little bit outside of Houston.
it
the
was
city outside
around
Houston.
an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, no, outside Houston. And my friend told me, you look like you have to go into the hospital, not to be out of the hospital. I was getting worse and worse. I tried to make one step of the stairs, and I couldn't do it. So my wife arrived. We called the doctor. She called the doctor, and the doctor said, take him to the nearest hospital. But even that they told her that they were discussing if they bring me back to the hospital in Houston. And thank God I saw the announcement that has a name that is related to, as Ed said, we are people of faith. And I believe that the Lord told me, go to the hospital. So I pointed out, and they took me to that hospital. When I arrived, I passed out, I have seizures. I was indeed dying.
So you actually had a seizure?
Yeah?
You had a seizure?
Yeah, yeah. Not a lot of seizures from that 7th day to that moment.
Okay.
They took me directly inside. My wife asked them to put me in coma. The doctor said, "You understand what it means that?"
A medically induced coma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my wife said, "Yes, but I don't want him to suffer." So I stayed 5 days in coma. And the 4th or 5th day, they came and told me, well, Mr. Picasso, you are going to come back to it. You are going to have normal life, but we have to make a test. If you pass it, you are going to be going home. Not going home, you are going to be back to it.
And what did they do for you while you were in that coma?
They drained what I had here. That was 1.5, around 34 ounces of blood in my heart sac, and I will say 80 ounces of fluid around my lungs. So in other words,
well, let's put that in context. He said, he had told me that they had drained a little more than a liter of blood from, and your heart has a membrane around it. It's called the pericardium. And I believe, what you were describing is a pericardial infusion.
yeah,
So you've got all that blood that's interfering with your heart's ability to pump.
perfect.
So they drain that blood off, and 34 ounces, a liter of blood is just a little bit south of 34 ounces. That's a lot of blood. Imagine a 32-ounce bottle of soda. So that's a lot. And then to have more fluid in his abdomen, you know, and this is the condition that he was discharged from the hospital in, right?
I realized that they knew what was going on because of that medicine they gave me, so I can eliminate the liquid that I have in my body. Thank God, in that new hospital in Katy, they intubate me, they put me in coma, they drain for 5 days all the
Fluid.
fluids that I had in my body. And when they woke me up, they told me that I was going to be okay. When they told me that I had to pass a test. So I tried to pass the test, I didn't pass it. But I saw my wife's face. She lost her husband, her son, and he was losing her husband. So I pushed her hand, I said, repeat the test. She asked the doctor to repeat it. I make an effort, really, really very painful, and I pass it. Okay. So when they took out the tubing, and they gave me the first teaspoon of
Dígame en español.
no gelatina. How do you say gelatina? Well, it was the gelatina.
Oh,
Jello.
Jello. No, the first spoon of Jello. I never have had more.
Satisfaction?
No.
Oh, pain?
I couldn't breathe. I was totally blue, or purple, because
It went down the wrong way?
they discover that when they intubate me, they break my sphincter. So everything what I ate went to my lungs. What they gave me for food created a fibrosis.
So you aspirated the
Yeah.
Jello into your
Yeah.
lung. Yeah.
Thank God that is in the same way it was 13 years ago. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. No. The other thing that happened is that I couldn't talk because they damaged my vocal cords. And it took 3.5 years to come back. I had to go to South America to get a treatment because all they wanted to do is surgery. They made me a surgery for Botox to press the vocal cords to put it close so I can talk. No? When I received the paperwork, they wrote there that it was a cancer tumor that I have on my throat. And I began.
And this had never been detected before?
I didn't have the tumor. They were using that medical code so they can collect the money.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I began to scream the way I could because I couldn't speak. And I pointed to my wife to read that. When she read, she said, "What are you doing?" They changed the paperwork and I had the surgery. Well, when all of this happened, I was sitting on a wheelchair with my brain perfect, couldn't talk, and short of breath. That until today, I have the same symptom. When I went to the lawyers, because it was definitely a malpractice, they told me that I cannot sue them because there was a law that obliged me to have my situation for 3 years so I can demonstrate it was a permanent damage. No?
So, the law in Texas said in order for you to have a case, you have to show that it was permanent or that the duration was greater than 3 years.
It was at least 3 years.
Okay.
No?
Yeah.
But the statute of limitation was only 2. So that's a game against us. That's why I'm here.
So there was
And I
a
think
2-year
we have-
statute of limitations,
Yeah,
but you had to establish 3 years of chronic illness.
correct. And I can tell you now that the surgery was done on November 2012. Today we're in 2025. It's going to be 13 years. And I have, until today, I only can work from time to time in doing something because I couldn't go back to work. And it took me 3.5 years to be in front of a judge to get my disability. So thank God I had a family. Otherwise, I wouldn't have an income. I didn't have an income for 3.5 years, no, because of this legal legalities. So I think we have to convince the legislators not to do that. That's the only objective I have of my presence here.
All right, well, that's quite an experience, Juan. And I think the point is very well made, that this isn't a problem just in Florida.
No.
So if any of you folks viewing, if you have personal experience, like this outside of the state of Florida, please let us know. If you know somebody who has had experience like this. And, another point that this brings up is, and we've talked about this in one of our previous shows, about patient advocates. And in a seminar that I gave at Hillsborough College, I was a participant in a seminar at Hillsborough College last year over in the Tampa area. And there were 3 of us presenting. And one lady who said that she will be a guest on our show probably sometime in the next couple of weeks. But because of what she saw her husband go through, she was so frustrated because, and I'm sure you can relate to this, the doctors come in and they talk to you. They're speaking English, but you don't understand them. It's like they're speaking a foreign language. If you don't understand the medical terminology, and if you don't understand the consequences of what they're saying, it could be any language for all you know.
The main point in those cases, you have to trust in the doctors. No, me as a patient, knowing that the hospital that I was in was considered one of the best ones in the world for heart, give me some confidence.
This was in Houston?
Yeah, and that
viewers can draw their own conclusions.
Yeah, create a trust from me. I trust them, But at the end, I realized that they didn't do what I have to do, because it was so easy to measure my INR and determine if I was in the situation that I was or not, and they could correct that. But
INR, excuse me just a second. INR is just an international standard for determining blood clotting times.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So the purpose is they give you warfarin, so you have a dose that they gave you that I have to take until today to avoid any bleeding or to avoid any clotting. So they knew that, and they discharged me, and thank God I am still alive.
Well, and I know everybody can relate to what you're saying, that you want to trust your doctors. But there's a very popular phrase that's going around again that was around a few years ago. You can trust, but verify.
The sad part, and let me interrupt you, Ed, is that when my wife asked the doctor, Doctor, can you please give me a logic explanation what happened with my husband? He was in your hospital, and you discharged him, and 3 hours later he was dying in another hospital. And he said, well, what the Indians said, because that new hospital was a lot of doctors that came from India, but they were excellent, Mm-hmm. And my wife said, no, it's not about that. Please give me a logic explanation. His answer was, the only explanation I can tell you is I have good lawyers and I know how to defend myself. So even that is inhuman, because he knew very well that we lost our son a month and a half before, and he didn't have the right to treat us that way. And the law was protecting him.
And he knew it.
And he knew it. He said it.
It's not right. But again, sometime soon in one of our shows that not too far distant future, we're going to have a professional patient advocate. And there aren't nearly enough of these people. But there is a training program that will train individuals who have an interest to become certified patient advocates. And those are the people that can listen to what your doctor says, listen to what your nurses say, listen to what they say about the testing that's done, about the diagnostics that are done, and help you interpret and understand decisions that should be made. These people can also, it's their job to understand insurances and how they benefit and what they can do and what they can't do. And I hope to some degree also laws regarding, you know, physician actions like this. So again, you know, what you went through was a terrible thing. I know that I had met you just before your son passed.
Yeah.
And that was when I was having a procedure that I had postponed because I didn't have the emotional strength to go through with it so soon after I had lost my son. Mm-hmm. So I can, you know, fully understand and relate everything that you went through.
If you let me say something else. I'm happy with the help I got on the second hospital because they saved my life. Yes, I had problems on the intubation and all that, but they saved my life. The origin of that failure was because they didn't control the amount of Coumadin they were giving me. No? But the other thing is I am alive because of the Lord. The Lord wanted to have me here, and I know Ed. We're brothers. We work together for the Lord in so many ways. And let me tell you, this is a purpose of go back to have our country under God. believing in what I am not talking about any politician guy because I don't trust them, no? And you know that. But I think we have to wake them up, and they have to make the legislation to protect us, the citizens of the United States.
Well, you know, we have a voice. Let's use
Yeah.
it. Our friends out here listening, you know, you have a voice. Let's use it. Please talk to folks. I'm encouraging you to, if you think the information on these podcasts is worthwhile, you know, share it with people. Wherever you viewed the podcast from, share that information with folks, and let's get this advocacy, keep it going. We have a very, very strong movement right now going on in the Florida legislature. If Senator Yarborough can get the state to hear it and to vote on it, then all it has to do is go to Governor DeSantis' desk. If Governor DeSantis signs it, then these laws will be abolished. And hopefully Florida can be an example for other states. And this message, Juan's message, and the message of some of the other people that have so graciously and courageously told their story on this show, these messages will reach out all over the country. So, you know, thank you very much. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much to you, and I want to wake up the people from Texas so they can help us on getting laws that will protect us also in Texas. But I won't go back because I live in Florida, but just for anybody else that can go.
All right. Thank you all very much for joining us. Much, much appreciated. And we'll be speaking again soon.
Thank you for watching The Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we interview those who have dealt firsthand with medical malpractice. Families are devastated by medical malpractice and left with no justice. This isn't just a loophole. It's a failure to protect the ones we love. It's time to change the law. It's time for accountability. Contact your state legislatures, visit afreekill.com for more information on how to help, or contact Ed at 561-239-2417. Because every life should matter.